Welcome to another Achieving Science video. Within this video we are going to cover the nervous system. First of all, let us begin by looking at the 5 different sense organs and what they do. First of all, we have our eyes. Our eyes are sensitive to light. Second, we have our ears, which are sensitive to sound and balance. Third, we have our nose, which is sensitive to chemicals. Fourth, we have our tongue, which is sensitive to taste, whether it be bitter, sweet, salt, or sour. Finally, fifth, we have our skin, which is sensitive to touch, pressure, and temperature changes. So how does our nervous system work? What does it do with this information? Well, first of all, our sense organs are there to detect stimuli. A stimuli, or stimulus, is a change within your environment which may need to react to. Now, a stimulus can be anything that triggers our sense organs. So, of course, the list includes things like light, sound, touch, pressure, chemicals, change in position, and temperature. Now, within each of our sense organs, there are receptors. Receptors are a group of cells which are sensitive to a stimulus. This is going to vary from sense organ to sense organ. So, for example, our skin has touch receptors. On the other hand, our eyes have light receptors. Now, our receptors are clever because what they will do is they're able to convert the stimulus energy into an electrical impulse. This electrical impulse will then be passed via a neuron, which we'll come to in a bit later on in the video. This electrical impulse will then be sent to our central nervous system. We need to know what our central nervous system is made up of. Well, it's made up of our brain. And it is made up of our spinal cord. Now, within our CNS, the central nervous system, the reflexes and actions are coordinated. Now, we can summarise what we've learned so far via a diagram. So we started off with a stimulus. This stimulus was received by a receptor. This receptor then triggered an electrical impulse. This electrical impulse was then passed via a neuron to our central nervous system, which we're going to refer to it as our CNS. So, an example. So, a stimulus might be temperature. Our skin might have receptors. And the CNS might be our spinal cord. But this doesn't end there. If the CNS decides that a response is needed, then the CNS will send an electrical signal to an effector. What is an effector then? Well, an effector is something that brings about a response, and this can include glands and muscles. Let's add this back to our diagram. So from the CNS, if a response is initiated, then an electrical impulse is triggered. This electrical impulse is then passed to an effector, which will bring about a response. So as we said, we can then give some examples. So an example of an effector is our muscles. An example of a response is that our hand moves. Finally then, we need to deal with where these electrical impulses are transported, how they go from the CNS to the effector and vice versa, from the receptors to the CNS. Well, they're carried by special cells. called neurons, and the signal is an electrical signal. So let's have a look at neurons. This is a picture of a neuron, and these neurons that are used are different. The one that carries the electrical impulse from the receptors to the CNS is called a sensory neuron. It's carrying sense information to our brain and spinal cord. So it's a sensory neuron. On the other hand, the one between the CNS and the effector is called a motor neuron because it's bringing about a response. Motors cause movement, something to happen.